My name is Stuart Hanson. I'm a family mediator, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about your first mediation session. So you will have already had your MIAM, your mediation information and assessment meeting, and the mediator will have deemed that mediation is appropriate in your circumstances. And in the first meeting, which you will both attend, it might be in different rooms or it might be face-to-face, but you will be given an agreement to mediate. This is this document here. And in this video, I'm just going to take you through the very basic rules of mediation. And it's really important that you can abide to these, because if you can't, the mediation will not go ahead, or it will break down at some point, and it will have wasted everybody's time. So I'm going to be reading certain parts of this, but I'm going to try and paraphrase so you get an idea of whether mediation is something for you and you think it may benefit your family. So during the mediation, there is what I call the basic ground rules, is that you treat each other respectfully and you show each other courtesy. Be fair to each other throughout the mediation process and leave fault and criticism out of discussions. So as we've spoken before in previous videos, mediation is future focused. So you may feel very angry, but try and leave those emotions behind and focus on what you're going to do in the future and how that will benefit your family. Try and cooperate in resolving the disagreements. You're here, it's voluntarily attended, you're not being forced, but it's important that you try and work with each other. If you don't, then mediation will just again fall apart. Try and think, and this may be very difficult for many people, about each other's needs. But if that's too difficult, then think about the needs of your family and of your children as a whole. Try and reduce the emotional and financial distress caused to your family, and that's really important to consider, especially in cases where we're discussing about family finance and how to split assets after a separation or divorce. Keep the contents, and this is vital, confidential, and this includes everything to do with social media. We don't want people tweeting, we don't want people Facebooking, all these kind of things, and we don't want people recording. That is incredibly serious. We don't want people to record mediation sessions as they're progressing. They are confidential. What we may do in certain circumstances, that if we've been using the whiteboard to discuss and draw up plans for, let's say, child arrangements or time that you spend with your children, then we may ask you to photograph that, because sometimes there's a 2 or 3 working day delay on getting the record of your mediation session to you. So in those circumstances, yeah, we'd ask you to bring out your phone. But during a mediation session, we would really ask you to put your phone on silent or turn your phone off, because it's really important that you dedicate your attention and make sure that you give everything that you have to the mediation session. We talk about confidentiality again, and that it's privileged. We've explained that in a previous video about how you wouldn't be able to call us to court. When we say us, we mean mediators, to give evidence. We also ask to give permission that your files can be looked at by the legal aid authority. That's just we're not looking at what's been written in your case. It's whether we're doing our job. So there's that question about whether you have any issues about your file being seen by the legal aid authority, especially if it's been legally aided, the case. We also talk about, if you're going to come to mediation, we understand sometimes you have issues to do with childcare, or there's a last-minute emergency. It's really important that you give as much notice as possible, because if you think in a mediation, there's at least another 2 people who can be inconvenienced if it's a last-minute cancellation. And it doesn't help the mediation process if you cancel 30 minutes before. And it also wastes the time of the mediator. We also talk about costs and whether you are legally aided or whether you are privately paying clients, and we will explain how you can make payment and how long we think the mediation process will take. It's very hard. A lot of clients say, well, how long will this go on for? It's driven by you. That's the important thing. It's definitely driven by you, not the mediator. We will facilitate communications, but we will and help you take the kind of discussions forward, but ultimately you are in charge of the process. That is, we ask you then to sign the forms, and you can see here, and that concludes the paperwork at the beginning of the first mediation session. And in the next video, we'll talk to you about agenda points and what homework basically we expect you to have done before your mediation session. Thank you.